love to introduce Reverend Sue this morning to talk about adventures in thinking.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you being here, and I think it's endearing to see some of the spouses with their wives. So they must be honoring a Mother's Day wish. I think that's pretty sweet. I won't point you out, but I see you. And I don't see you that often. So I wanted to wish everyone the sense of honoring the mother. And interesting, as I was looking at the idea behind Mother's Day, I've always been one that hasn't gotten really behind that. My mother never wanted any gifts or anything like that. I think when I was really little and I had allowance, I'd go to the 5 and dime store and buy her Lilies of the Field perfume, my poor mother. And I think that's when she said, you don't really have to buy anything. And so I've always carried that on in my own life, you know, and Charlie always blesses me with beautiful flowers. But the idea of celebrating the mother is every day, and this particular day we honor in a deeper way, a more privileged way. And some people don't care for their mother very much. And so it's even a time there to hold that idea of the mother, to lift it up into a place of deep honoring and understanding and forgiveness, and just to hold the mother in that place. But even more than that, I love the idea of honoring the Divine Mother. And the Divine Mother is something that I have resonated with for a lifetime, because when I was raised as a Methodist, it was so our Father, our Father, our Father. And then when I've started exploring the Eastern philosophies, there was the Divine Mother. And I thought, what is that? And so many prayers were started out with Divine Father, Divine Mother. And I thought, I love that. It seemed to connect all the principles of the one. And so I share with you this idea today on this Mother's Day. This idea, this definition, the Divine Mother is the feminine aspect of God. And we know that God is beyond being male or female. But there's different aspects, different attributes where we get to understand the idea of God and the manifestations that appear in our life. And so the Divine Mother is associated with qualities of compassion and forgiveness. And there are many, many beautiful meditations where you are just held in the arms of the Divine Mother when you're in a place of suffering. And I can understand that because she represents forgiveness and compassion. But I must share with you Paramahansa Yogananda's tribute to the Divine Mother. He was very, very close to his own personal mother. And as I was exploring some of the different teachers of our path, Ernest Holmes, I'll be talking about that sometime today, and he adored his mother. Paramahansa Yogananda adored his mother. Gandhi worshipped his mother. And so you recognize these great sages had this deep, abiding love and respect for their mother. And Paramahansa Yogananda was away when his mother passed, and they tried to keep it from him because they knew how close he was. Same with Gandhi. I think that's interesting that they try to hold that hard news to take. And Yogananda suffered for many, many years the grief over the loss of his mother. And there was this beautiful moment in a meditation where the Divine Mother appeared to him. But this is something that Yogananda says, all nature that we behold is the mother aspect of God, because in nature we find beauty, gentleness, and kindness. The flowers, birds, and beauties of nature all speak of the mother aspect of God, the creative motherly instinct of God. When we all look at the good things in nature, we feel a tenderness rise within us. We can see and feel God in nature. Can you? Can you? Do you feel that sense of connected to the mother? The Divine Mother is so beautiful, but remember, in her higher manifestation, even that beauty is formless. She is in everything. Her divine, compassionate love is expressed in the raindrops. Her beauty is reflected in the colors of the rainbow. She offers fresh hope to mankind with the rose-tinted clouds at dawn. Above all, be ever conscious of her presence in your heart. Be ever conscious of her presence in your heart. And I'm looking through my notes to see where I had written that piece where this is where in his grief many years passed, and he sat in his meditation and he summoned the Divine Mother. And her words brought final healing to my wounds. And I love this, and may you take it with you in the moments where you just feel lost or alone. It is I who have watched over thee life after life in the tenderness of many mothers. See in my gaze the two black eyes, the most beautiful eyes thou seekest. And there is that idea. I was remembering this in my own love of my mother. How I can, in my deepest ache, sometimes I can close my eyes and see my mother's blue eyes. I can get lost in that sense of the mother there. So I invite you to remember your mother's eyes today. Let's let go of any issues you might have, but those moments that you're held with the mother's eyes. Can't get any better than that. So we honor the mother this day. And our talk today is about adventures in thinking. So I start with that because the mother is a very universal idea. It's full of grace and it keeps us in touch with the divine principle. So in Science of Mind, there's love and law. And I see the Divine Mother as that principle, that divine givingness of that aspect of love itself. And I see the Father as the one of the mind and of the law. So Mother, the nature, she's always the mother in putting things in perfect order. And perfect order is one of the first laws of the universe. And I will share with you also today a little bit about visualization and putting things in order. And I start with the stories that I was looking at about Ernest Holmes because I was curious about his upbringing. And he came from a very large family, all boys, and they traveled around a lot. And he had one of his earliest impressions, the meditation I shared with you today, was one that he had learned from a gentleman called Christian D. Larson, and he wrote a book called The Ideal Made Real. And one thing that Ernest Holmes learned from him was to pray without ceasing. And we hear that term, but if we really think about it, it really means to pray without ceasing in such a way that we're always looking at our thoughts with such depth and such clarity and really anchoring into a deep faith on the direction that we're allowing our thoughts to go. So that was one of the points that he really received from his meditations, learning this meditation from Christian Larson. And he also said to think the absolute truth at first, to think of an absolute truth at first might seem like a contradiction because we're so used to judging from appearances. But when we find that the appearances are simply the result of thought, we shall no longer see the contradictions. We will create the ideal surroundings. We must first all think in terms of the ideal. So the meditation, you see, takes you down deep into the ideal. And you sit with your soul comfortably in the ideal of the one. And what is that? It is the beauty, the joy, the love, the peace. All the things that are in the natural order of the universe. The natural order that the nature shows us all the time, that great and profound beauty. So you must first think in terms of this ideal, and eventually, by natural law, it will affect and control your environment. So Ernest Holmes started very young. He was 3 and learning how to put together stories. He was known as the question mark by his family because he was incessantly asking questions. And his mother and father made sure that they kept all of their children in a space of understanding something beyond duality. And they worked very diligently in the spiritual upbringing of their children to not believe in good and evil. And that's a long time ago that they were working with this. And at one time, his father took the boys, the mother stayed home that day, he took the boys to church, and that minister was on it that day, and he was preaching and declared that we were all worms doomed to decay and dust. And I thought to myself, how would you guys feel if I said, hello, worms? Good morning, you worms, you're all And I thought, I cannot believe our hearts ever speaking with such heaviness. And this upset his father, and I love this. This is how the story goes in this book. This was written by Fenwick, Ernest's brother, but he said, Father stopped the horse. I don't know, do you guys think that's funny? I just thought that was funny. He stopped the horse on the way home and set the boys straight. He said, boys, Jesus said you are all gods, and you are like God if you keep that way. Man was made by God. Any other story is a lie. Any other story is a lie. He was so upset that this pastor had fed that idea of the boys being less than and instilled fear and inadequacy and shame in his boys. And so this led Ernest to continue to always question. He was very, very bold, and any minister or priest that came to visit their household, he was right there asking questions, and he always wondered how they knew what they knew, how they were able to talk to God. And he said when he listened to a preacher pray, he wondered why God required so much information. I just love those stories about these people that we end up, reading their text and sorting through their philosophy years and years later, and you see the very roots of their beginning, the very roots of the adventures of their thoughts and where it led them. And Ernest Holmes was very, very mystical as a child, and he was forever hugging the trees and speaking to nature in itself. And so all of his adventures led him into this great question and intuitively guiding him to resources and to teachers that inspired him. And he was able to take all these different philosophies from the Bible. He was a Bible scholar, and he was able to take all of those stories. He, a very young man, was studying Emerson and understanding and grasping the ideas that Emerson was offering. And he had future studies with Judge Troward and many, many others, until finally he had the creative idea to say, I am going to put this all together. I'm going to put all of these faith paths together. And it was not meant to be any kind of religion or a church built up around it. It was meant just to share the ideas of this great knowing from all faith paths into one truth. And so what this led to was this deep appreciation for the creative power of thought. The creative power of thought. Now, that power is already there. We don't try to muster up this creativity. It's already there. It's a power that all we need to do is tap into it. And how do we do that? How do we believe in that? And this is where our faith comes into play. It requires great faith. So from the invisible becomes the visible. When we sit deeply in contemplation and prayer and meditation, we sit in those moments of deep stillness, and we anchor ourselves into truth. And you need to be there. For me, this week, I was caught off guard, and I would have liked to thought I was caught in one of those moments of deep revelation, but I was just sort of one of those looks that I was trying to help somebody find their way in the hospital, and they were lost, and so I was up and taking them around, but they were sure that it might be down this hall, even though I knew it, so I just stood while they finished following their instinct, which was wrong. But I stood there, and I was just standing in the hall, kind of waiting, and kind of in this mindless moment, and this nurse comes by, and she goes, "Are you okay? Can I help you?" And I realized what kind of face I had, because I was just kind of... And I thought, no, I'm perfectly peaceful, fine, just helping somebody. And I thought that I am interested at that look because I'm seeing it all the time now on YouTube because they are filming all of these, and I'm getting karma back because when I had my first DVR, I loved to pause and watch how I could capture people's faces. And now, you should see it on the YouTube. There I am. All the time. And so I'm very familiar with this look of no thought, of just being. And the personality's gone. I'm just standing. Posture's not there. Stomach's hanging. Everything's just, just being. Not charged with any divinity at all. And so I thought to myself, it takes deep faith, deep conviction to be praying ceaselessly, to know that you are always in the heart of prayer. So in those moments, there's not some stranger passing you by trying to, resuscitate you because you're just looking so off. So this idea of praying ceaselessly and allowing your thoughts to be anchored at all times, this is where the mantra comes in, or a deep prayer, a passage that you just allow to be always in the framework of your mind. And when you anchor yourself in that place, the divine smile is always present, and always nurturing you to that greater core truth of who you are. So we need to recognize that what happened before, this is what Trower reminds us of. He described it as precedent. Whatever happened before does not necessarily have to fill in the spaces of what is happening before you now. So if you are thinking to yourself, well, I've been thinking positive affirmations, and I give myself at least 3 minutes of those in my 24 hours a day. But you need to really infuse those affirmations with such heart and zest so that they are always out picturing. Now, another story from the hospital. I've been healing my shoulder, which I've been whining about for weeks. Every time I get up here, I want your sympathy about my shoulder. But I've been getting therapy on it, and it's been much better, and I'm believing in its healing. Okay, I am believing in its healing. Now watch where my faith goes, okay? I'm ordered to go up and do a particular test on a lady that is about 200 pounds, and I need to get her out of her bed to get her in a wheelchair. Okay, so I approach the bed and I said, "Good morning, I'm going to take you down." And then she's like, "I don't barely move." And I'm thinking, and I thought, and so there comes fear. Fear comes right in, just like that. Just like that. I do all this work, all this treatment, and then as soon as one person says, "I need help," I'm thinking, oh, well, let me go find some help because we'll take a couple of us to get you up. And of course, I go find the help, but he stands on the opposite side of the bed, and there she goes, right for that shoulder, and yanks it down, and I'm going, hello, I created that. I invested so much fear around this that, of course, like a magnet, she just went, "I'll take that shoulder." And of course, she got up, and I thought, I'm glad I'm her strength, and then I limped around and felt that sense of setback. And I thought, it takes praying ceaselessly, and not to have fear can come right in there so quickly and undermine this great truth of our creative thought, of our creative power. And I have witnessed that time and again We need to look, though, as we see these moments of fear that can kind of taint our experience, we need to look for the unseen cause back of everything, back of everything. And my unseen cause of those moments is my sense of worthiness, or my sense of I too can heal, I am connected to the one. And I can know it for all of you, and I know it for myself, absolutely. I need to stay anchored in that. I need to visualize. Here's where this visualization comes into place. You create a mental picture, and you fulfill this law of nature, not so exact that spirit can't flow through you, but you create that template. You create that instrument within you for the divine to continually flow. And so these situations come where the lady says, I'll need help, and I know right away that I'm safe. I don't need to go into a fear base. I know how to work around those things, but I let that other emotion speak louder. And so what I'm inviting you to really think about is investing in this creative power to bring your desires into clarity and into order. So in those moments when you are brushed by a sense of fear or doubt, look behind that. Really take that moment to not move on and feel less than, but to really cultivate and know that deep quality of truth that dwells within you. So we've got this brain and this that works inside of us, and sometimes we think it's the brain that is the orchestrator of all of this great good. But don't you see, it's the great mind that is moving through the brain, operating through the brain, that all these wonderful things are happening in our experience. There is an infinite intelligence. And our mind, this infinite mind, our mind is connected to that one mind we call God. We are absolutely connected and conduits of that truth. And so our daily practice of meditation and sincerity of meditating and praying and staying very diligent at the gatekeeper of our mind, we are creating ourselves to be that divine instrument that is ready and willing to serve at any call. And there is no hurry, there is no worry, there is no fear in that. It just is. It is just that which is propelling us. Ernest Holmes says, there must be an operator. There must be an operator for this mind to think. And it reacts to us according to what we think. So really be in awe of that. When you're invited in a meditation to nestle up with your soul, what is that? It is the operator of all things. And then we have conditioned some of that and created an ego around that by judging and experiencing our life in such a way, but even that can drop away. And all of the current mystics, Eckhart Tolle is telling us that, Byron Katie is telling us that. It's like drop what we think is happening and try to see God in all things, try to see the clarity and the love and the truth, the beauty, the joy, the truth in all things. So you think what you want. You can think what you want because you have this absolute free will. We are not structured in such a dogma that we have to think a certain way. You are free to wake up and think exactly as you want to think, but you must look deeply into your thoughts and watch where fear can get behind your thinking and then outpicture that in your life. So we work daily. We work daily on bringing great joy and sending this energy of great joy as a substance into the direction of all our thoughts. Now, one of the students of Troward, her name is Genevieve Berend. Fascinating woman. She discovered this idea of the visualizing and this truth behind Troward's words. Judge Troward was from India and England, and she was determined. She was determined to be one of his students, and he didn't take students. But she did not let up, and she spent months on a journey, months manifesting exactly $20,000 to be able to go to be at his in his presence, to be taught by him. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that at 10:30, because he gave her one of those riddles to solve, and if she could solve that riddle, he would take her as a student, because he kept denying her, saying that he didn't really have the space to do something like that in his life. But she shares this: energy sends its substance in the direction indicated by the tendency of your thoughts. So hold your thought in truth. So energy sends its substance. So there's the formless. We have an idea. We have a deep prayer. And so we manifest that truth through the vehicle as God manifests through us, and it's outpictured into a form. And Mary spoke about that last week as well, and we'll continue to talk about that because it's one of the strong principles of this teaching. It is done unto us as we believe. So every thought is a form of prayer. Every thought is creative. Every thought will affirm or deny our good. So you visualize that you create a strong, steady stream of light. Beam it into the direction, and don't let anything take you off course. Anything take you off course. Watch it. It can happen so subtly. It can happen so subtly, and you have to just keep returning to the idea of the qualities of peace, joy, beauty, love, grace, all of these things, entertaining only the thoughts that you choose to manifest in your patterns of life, so that spirit can flow through you, and all that you experience is this greater good. So in this small little book, exactly what she's speaking to here, all you have to do is make such a mental picture of your heart's desire and hold it cheerfully in a place with all your will, always conscious that the same infinite power which brought the universe into existence brought you into form for the purpose of enjoying itself in and through you. And since it is all life, love, light, power, peace, beauty, and joy, and is the only creative power there is, the form it takes in and through you depends upon the direction given it by your thought. Given to it by your thought. Now you can leave here today completely empowered with this knowing that God is expressing through you, by means of you. And so you can give up all the worry, all the doubt, and just anchor into that truth and just feel empowered and strong in your choice of words, in your choice of heart, in your choice of following whatever comes before you. To allow yourself to always have the sense that you are those beautiful divine eyes of the Divine Mother, that someone is looking back at you to receive that. Can you imagine that Divine Mother is now looking out through your eyes? Through your eyes. You've created that experience, that depth of connection to the One. Our time is right now. So let us close with a prayer of absolute conviction that in this adventure of thinking, behind all thinking, behind all thought, is one mind. And that one mind we can call God, love, Spirit. What word strikes your heart chord and makes that absolute connection? Your word, yours. And as we make that connection right here and now, we become the divine instrument. And through our instrument of peace and joy and beauty and love, grace, power, life, we express this great possibility, this great intelligence, this great wisdom, this power behind our thought. And we choose right here and now to manifest a greater good for all humanity to come, and expressed through our heart, through our actions, through those simple moments where God simply is. We dwell in perfect truth. So you are empowered this day, each and every one of you, to stand in this truth, to know that you were designed by the One, and you stand strong in that truth, empowered by that knowing, trusting that your greater good is unfolding right here, right now. And as you leave here today, you walk in the grace of the One. You walk with love, compassion, forgiveness, and truth. I release these words knowing that each one of us is in the venture of thinking, and what we think, we become, and what we're becoming is love. Thank you, God, for this moment, this time together to share the heart of the Mother, to share the heart of the truth. I release these words knowing that it's so, and so it is.